We know the world of Pokemon can be a dangerous place. A simple stroll through the woods can result in being swarmed by Beedrill. Swimming in the ocean might result in you being dragged to the bottom by Jellicent. And even the skies are no better with Garchomp zooming by as fast as a jet. But what if you don't have Pokemon to help keep you safe? What if you're not even a Pokemon trainer to begin with? Well, lucky for you, I've been studying Pokemon ecology and have survived close encounters with dangerous denizens of the deep, perilous land lubbers, and sinister sky citizens, and now I can provide to you a guide to how to fight Pokemon and win, and other survival tips in the tall grass. Howdy there, I'm Acrylic, and the world of Pokemon might be scary if you're new to living in it, but with my help, I can ensure your survival. To note, we are not straight up picking fights with Pokemon. That is not a survival tip, that is a common sense tip. A tip against stupidity, if you would. But let's begin with exactly what you came here for. How to fight a Pokemon and win. Then I'll give you every other tip to the world of Pokemon that I've collected here, such as how to get food from Pokemon, safe ways to ensure you don't run into Beedrill swarms, Pokemon you can drink water from if you are dehydrated, and so much more. If you end up loving this and you want more tips in the Pokemon world, go ahead and comment them below. Let me see what I can bring to you when it comes to these survival tips. So how do you fight a Pokemon? Your immediate thought should be, hey, you can't overgeneralize all 1025 Pokemon, their Megas, Gigantamax forms, regionals, and whatever other gimmicks that Game Freak comes up with into an overgeneralized statement. And that's what I say. Yes, I can. Absolutely. But don't worry. We'll talk about more specific conflicts in the future. You are a human within the world of Pokemon, a world where we have confirmation that humans and Pokemon were once the same exact species, indistinguishable from one another, as sourced from the Kennel library within Sinnoh. This means you have a little extra durability to you. You're not going to be taking a direct hit from a Mux, Gunk Shot, or a Twin Needle from Beedrill anytime soon, but you might survive at least 1 or 2 hits at the very least. We're going to assume that you cannot escape outright, at least not immediately. You are stuck in this one-on-one fight with a Pokemon of your choice. Or more aptly, you are stuck in a conflict, because you're not going to be able to just out-punch a Clobbopus. That thing has way too many arms. So, no. As a human, your job is to use that big brain of yours, and your first step should be to neutralize the threatening Pokemon through a delicious treat. An incredibly aggressive Pokemon such as Noivern is known to be so much of a terror that it will even attack and overwhelm Hydreigon under the moonlit sky. Though, despite it being known for this violent temper, it can become immediately tame if approached with its favorite ripe fruits. And odds are, if you're running into Noivern, you've run into where it harvests its food from. So your first step with any Pokemon is to look around for their favorite food. If you want to know Pokemon diets, go check out my ecology series. But for now, we've run into a new issue. Let's say the Pokemon you're in conflict with does not have a favorite food. In fact, you've had the unfortunate luck of running into a grass muncher like Tauros. It whips its tails into the air. The whip-like snap echoes into the air as your final warning before it charges. Tauros primarily appear in open fields where they can freely run and graze. They're hard to miss, but somehow you manage to enter its territory anyway. Your first step is to prepare yourself as a matador would. As such, with any Pokemon that is preparing to charge you, you need to lead them. You are not going to turn your back on them. You are not going to run. The second you run is the second that they will move to strike you. And odds are they are faster than you are. Find barriers that you can put between yourself and the Pokemon. Barriers between yourself and Tauros. The sturdier, the better. And a large tree would be a fantastic start, because while yes, many Pokemon can easily break through or cut trees, it still lessens the impact and can slow down a Pokemon. This in turn can buy you time to escape or find another way to fight back. If you are able to choose to escape, then you need to book it. Whether the Tauros is stunned for a moment from slamming into a tree, whatever Pokemon it is, you have the cover you need to go and escape the Pokemon's territory. You can get away from territorial Pokemon such as Sigilyph, who will only attack you if you enter its flight path, the area that it is guarding. Pokemon such as Ursaring are just like any other bear for that matter, so you can back away. But in the event that you do end up deciding, stupidly, admittedly, to strike against your Pokemon opponent, you need to aim for their weak spots. Pokemon have eyes or noses just like you and I, and by striking at these areas, you make more openings for yourself. Or you could very well incapacitate them completely if you're strong enough, though this is on a case-by-case basis and requires good strength or finesse. I again do not recommend it. My recommendation is to never, ever pick a fight with a Pokemon, and it's to never kill a creature unless you are given absolutely no choice. Remember that this is their home and you are the intruder. Treat them with respect. But there's more to surviving within the world of Pokemon than just fighting. And before I divulge all of those tips and tricks, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this so far, please ensure that you do subscribe, share the video, and even leave a comment, as comments and watch time are the best way that you would freely be able to help support a channel. If you would like to go the extra mile, become a member on here or Patreon for as little as $3 a month. YouTube's ad revenue is unreliable, unfortunately, due to me only having 14,000 subs, and that is quite small, and as such, I've had to slow down with videos and potentially pick up a job. As such, if you would like to support high-quality research and long-form content on this channel, consider becoming a member. The goal is 1,000 members, as that ensures that I can take all the time needed to release incredibly high-quality content, better than what I have already released ever before. I found that this channel is ultimately too small to survive purely on ad revenue alone, and your assistance is greatly appreciated. As a member, you would get exclusive updates, special votes, and videos early. In addition, you get a shout out at the end of every single video. With that then, and that out of the way, once again, thank you so much for watching, and back to our main topic. Drinking water from Pokemon. Believe it or not, it can be perfectly safe to drink water from Pokemon. Not any Pokemon, we have to go through them. We see this not only in the animated series, but we are told directly that water from Pokemon such as Panpour is not only safe, but in fact full of nutrients. If you find yourself lost within the woods of Unova, a Panpour or Simipour would be your #1 pick for getting fresh water, and in fact, they prefer to live near fresh water in the wild. If you can at least follow them to their source, then you can, in fact, drink from their source of fresh water that they restore the tufts of their head with. But what about other Pokemon such as Lantern? I would not recommend drinking Lantern's water. My reasoning being is twofold. One is because within Lantern's body is a bacteria that is kept alive through its kind of consuming Lantern's bodily fluids. This bacteria is what causes the chemical reaction for the bright flashes of light that Lantern releases to occur. If you drink anything from Lantern, you may end up drinking this bacteria, and I'm not sure what that effect would ultimately be. The second reason is that this is a Pokemon that lives in the world's oceans, meaning that it is likely going to store salt water in its body, primarily. And you don't want to drink salt water. In fact, it will dehydrate you so incredibly quickly. Meanwhile, Pokemon such as Staryu and Starmie are a different case, as they absorb water from whatever their surroundings are. Meaning if you find them in a freshwater environment, then their water may very well be safe to drink. Your job is to be mindful of whether you are finding these water Pokemon in areas of freshwater or saltwater. And even if you are their trainer, this is something that you should absolutely keep in mind. Also, find it a little bit weird to imagine drinking water from a Pokemon such as our frogs, which leads me to telling you that you should take extra care of what the Pokemon is itself. Ensure that you are not drinking water from Pokemon such as Mareanie, Skrelp, or Toxapex, as water from these Pokemon have a high chance of having toxins within them that will hurt you. Other Pokemon that may have water with toxins in them include Seismitoad and Seadra, despite not being poison-type Pokemon, as they do have a ability to release poison with their attacks. And that's just part of their biological nature. Keep your wits about you and make educated decisions. Foraging for food. Let's assume that you're still lost in the woods, unable to find your way out, and your hunger is growing. Your stomach grumbles, but you are not interested in eating any Pokemon. That's cruelty. You can't imagine doing that to your favorite Pokemon. Either that, or you're just not strong enough physically to go do it. This means ultimately that you are stuck foraging for food. Luckily, there are a slew of berries and mushrooms that are available to you. But are they actually safe to consume? Well, Bulbapedia did help with this explanation. Berries are typically used to make treats for Pokemon, such as Pokeblocks, Poffins, and Pokepuffs, but they are also used to produce food consumed by humans. For instance, in Cooking Up a Sweet Story, Ash and his friends met an old lady named Abigail, who uses berries to make cakes. And in Double Time Battle Training, one of the sweets on Zoe's victory party was a tomato berry ice cream bar. That's a little weird. A specialty in Zoe's hometown, Snow Point City. Berries have been used numerous times to produce medicine. As a Pokemon breeder, Brock has a broad knowledge on berries and their medicinal properties, often grinding them up with a mortar and pestle into powder to give to Pokemon afflicted with illnesses and status conditions. In Doc Brock, he used an oranberry to treat Don's Pachyrisu's fever. With this in mind, we can make the safe assumption that any berries that are safe for Pokemon consumption will be safe for our own consumption, which is odd and goes against what we know in the real world. In fact, as stated, berries might even be vital for surviving dangerous encounters, but we'll come back to that later. What about those mushrooms that I mentioned? Our rare mushrooms that we often sell for big kashish are shown to be edible through the anime. In Defending the Homeland, Clement mentioned having used big mushrooms as part of the new food he had just made for the group. Mallow from Alola has also been known to collect big mushrooms and even dried forms of them from Oranguru for recipes in her family's kitchen. If you live in Paldea, you might even get lucky and be able to eat some mushrooms left behind by Toadstool and Toadscroll, as pickled Toadscroll and cucumber is a common dish that is served there. I doubt that this means that anyone is actively hunting down the walking mushroom that it is, but it likely creates other wood ear mushrooms, which is what it's inspired by, that don't turn into full Toadstool. Honestly, would not recommend hunting them down, as they are a bit aggressive, Toadscroll that is, and will suck away all of your nutrients. The only incredibly common fruit that you as a human will not eat is an apricorn. In fact, apricorns as a whole are not commonly even eaten by Pokemon unless they are rotting. This is because the exterior is far too hard even for other Pokemon, and this is why apricorns can also be used by Kurt or other people within the lands of Hisui to create different types of specialized Pokeballs. Nevertheless, while they may have plenty of nutrition and may not necessarily be toxic, eating a rotten apricorn is not something that would sit well within our human stomachs. As such, avoid consuming them. Surviving a poison sting. Now that we've been able to discuss both attacks from Pokemon and berries that can be found, we need to discuss when you are poisoned by a Pokemon. There are different levels of poison that are included, or rather induced, by different Pokemon. And no, I'm not just talking about poison and the badly poisoned conditions. Because if you're bit by a Spinarak, you're not going to die. We have grown to understand that their poison will only have the potential to weaken you, as it only weakens their prey, but doesn't kill them. It makes them just vulnerable enough for Spinarak to come in and take that final blow. Spinarak prey is anything that, of course, it can catch in its web. And while it is a 1 foot 8 inch spider, it is not aiming to eat us. The real problem rears its head if an Ariados were to come around and bite us. Assuming you're able to escape, you have a time limit on your hands, and if you don't find relief for the poison coursing through your veins, you're not gonna make it to the next sunrise. Let's begin with what you should not do. Do not suck out the venom from the wound. By doing this, you can introduce bacteria into it that can cause a much worse infection. Actually, don't even squeeze it out. Don't cut it. Don't do anything else to the area of the bite, as doing anything along those lines have been medically proven to cause more harm by potentially damaging veins or blood vessels. Do not make a tourniquet, as it is ineffective and will just cause more problems through cutting your blood supply. And do not use the weird old disproven remedies, of dipping it in warm water or sour milk. I don't know who thought sour milk was a good idea. It's filthy. Either way, while I am talking about Pokemon today, yes, these have been real tips of what not to do. Your job instead is to stay calm, as those toxins will only circulate faster if you get all anxious and pumped up. You need to keep the bite as well below the level of your heart, as you want to avoid the increase of blood flow going that way. Think of it like if you were ever in a hospital and you needed to have your leg elevated to increase blood flow to your body. In fact, you should just be moving the location of the bite as little as possible. Odds are it's going to be on your hand or your ankle. I don't know what else to say. Just limit movement. And lastly, remove any jewelry or bands, as swelling may occur and that will create an issue later on. Your job is to seek a professional for medical attention, except you live in the world of Pokemon, meaning we can increase our chances of survival, because within this world, you're still going to need to go to the hospital, but thanks to the existence of Pecha berries, you might be able to stave off death for just a little bit longer, or just by eating enough of them, you'll be able to completely neutralize the poison. But I'm not a doctor, don't take my word for it. My lawyer, who is just myself in a business suit, told me that I need to make this statement clear as to not be held liable. I will not be sued by someone's Oranguru lawyer. Thank you very much. Disclaimer, disclaimer. If you're worried about downing a metric ton of Pecha berries, by the way, it's more than just a peach. It is said to be sweet and smooth, meaning that you might just be able to stomach it, as it doesn't have that bitter medicine flavor. The only downside is that they are larger than you might think. Remember, bananas are berries too, and those are, they could be pretty big. And speaking of bananas, there are fruits, nuts, and other foodstuffs that you can get from other Pokemon. So let's talk about foraging food from Pokemon. If you live within the Hoenn region, you might just be lucky enough to run into a Tropius in the wild. Tropical Tropius. I'm going to say Tropius from now on, though, by the way. These are 2-meter tall, modern-day sauropods that just feast upon their favorite berries, only to become what they eat. Literally, they have existed since prehistoric times, and after hundreds of years of eating the same exact fruit, they started growing the same fruit on their necks, like a little neck beard, but it's fruit. They are banana dinos, and if you don't know, they can fly. They don't fly like a helicopter, by the way. They just flap their fronds. I feel like that's a missed opportunity, but I get it. Evolution probably doesn't want its back spinning like a propeller. Now I just imagine a bunch of Tropius like a Beyblade. You kind of grab its neck and just send it into the ring, and it's just spinning full force. Anywho, so how do you get your hands on these delicious fruits that Tropius produce? You actually just need to ask for them. For real, these are super docile and friendly Pokemon that are known to share the fruits from their body when they have them. Similarly enough, you have Pokemon such as Grotle or Torterra, who may either grow nuts or berries upon their bodies, and you can harvest it from them. And they too are very docile, friendly Pokemon. They're not going to be jumping at you like some sort of excited dog, but if you approach them calmly and with a friendly manner, then you are likely going to be able to harvest. If you want to know more about what Pokemon are edible, I have a complete ranking of every Pokemon and all of their forms available. I'll still cover some here, but that is your complete guide to edibility within that world. Except I did make one mistake. The Roselia or Roserade, you can eat their flowers, and they probably taste really good. Either way, let's move on to getting more food from Pokemon by befriending a Vespiquen. Honey is a delicious thing. It has a number of different benefits, and as someone who talks so much, I should definitely be eating or consuming more of it. I guess this doesn't really count as survival now that I think about it, but we're going with it anyway because I said so. Just pretend you're gonna die for some reason unless you get a teaspoon of honey. Your job is not to intrude upon the hive of a Vespiquen. If you were to do that, then you are likely going to get eaten by the Vespiquen, as it is known to kill and eat any intruders upon their territory. The reason for this is because the hive of a Vespiquen is technically a Vespiquen itself and all of its subordinate Combee that it loves with all of its heart. This is because Combee larvae live inside the Vespiquen dress, and the more I think about it, the more uncomfortable I get. But Once they are full combi, then their hive is formed by them collecting together to form walls with no limits. So you aren't really going into a hive, you're scooping honey from the living Pokemon itself, which is another thing that makes me personally uncomfortable. In the event that you accidentally intrude upon their hive, all you need to do is make yourself a non-threat. These are intelligent Pokemon. They can recognize friend from foe. In fact, if you ever do come across a Vespiquen hive that is in danger from a Pokemon such as a Mothim or Ursaring, and you are able to help save a Combee, then there is the chance that the Vespiquen will be more than just grateful and will provide honey to you as thanks. Assumedly, you could do this often enough, and you'll have a friend that provides you extra honey whenever they can. Again though, that stops kind of being a survival tip and more of like a life tip that satisfies my own stomach. Stumbling upon a Beedrill hive where a Vespiquen is mild-mannered and a Ribombee is friendly. Beedrill is known to be an aggressive monster, though this aggressive monster does pollinate, meaning it is vital to our ecosystem. Weedle and Kakuna, not a big deal. You know, they'll typically stay out of your way, as Weedle enjoys eating lots of leaves as it stays within the brush, and Kakuna will hide so it can survive long enough to evolve, so it is not made prey by any of the flying type Pokemon. More often, the Kakuna will be attached to trees along their sides, or even hanging from the branches via silken thread. Though if you are seeing this, you are definitely in danger. Reason being that Beedrill are incredibly territorial and protective of their entire evolutionary line. If you do not have a Pokemon to assist you, your #1 best bet is to run and find an enclosed area. This is one of the few instances in which you are to run, as the Beedrill are guaranteed to outnumber you. It does not matter what the enclosure is, just as long as you can be enclosed on all sides and out of visible sight. Though I will say, please make sure that you are not within a singular meter of any outside facing surfaces. The needles that Beedrill have are long, and they will impale you multiple times with them to ensure that you die. This is not an exaggeration, it's what they have been noted to do. Do not get turned into a donut. You will be taking shelter until the Beedrill calm down. You are to stay calm and quiet, and once the swarm disperses, then you wait an additional 30 minutes for any stragglers to go away. Do not agitate them at any point. Do not start any fires. By waiting them out, you will be okay. Now, if you did have a Pokemon with Smokescreen available, then have the Pokemon use it while also covering your mouth with a cloth, folded multiple times over if possible. It does not need to be wet, as we are assuming the smokescreen from your Pokemon is non-toxic, and you just need to avoid breathing it in, as the cloth acts as a filter. With enough of a smokescreen, you will be able to not only provide cover for yourself and your Pokemon, but you will also be able to confuse the Beedrill. This is because smoke pacifies real bees through blocking their signals to each other, while also making them think there might be a forest fire, meaning the Beedrill themselves will likely leave the area to protect their young back at the center of their territory. Either way, you should have a pretty clean escape, and your Beedrill encounter will be resolved. Escaping a Seadra's Whirlpool. You take a dip in the water. You're enjoying a day out at the beach, and the salty ocean's waters are refreshing to the touch. In fact, let's assume you've even felt confident enough to go far out to the sea, where aggressive Pokemon have been confirmed to not typically be around. You have some of your trusty water Pokemon, but they're not made for excessive battling. After an afternoon of fun, you relax over the waters only to feel yourself being moved at a more rapid pace, circular even in that movement, as though you are being pulled down a drain. You are being accidentally pulled into a Seadra's Whirlpool attack. They often do this while hunting in order to wear down their prey before striking with the final blow. Good news is, you're not their target, and you're smarter. General advice is that if you find yourself within a whirlpool, avoid going or moving in the same direction as the water flow and try to stay away from the center. Make powerful strokes to go to the side of the whirlpool that is moving downstream. Use your momentum and extra paddle strokes to escape the Whirlpool's downstream side, especially if you have the capacity within, like, say, a kayak. There's even a possibility that ultimately you might get spat right back out by the Whirlpool, and sometimes you simply have to hope that this is the case, especially in these special case scenarios, as these Whirlpools may not dissipate immediately and might be too strong for you to completely stay out of the center of, but you do not want to get sucked into that center. When you do escape the Whirlpool, reaffirm your surroundings, collect yourself, and immediately leave the area before the Seadra summons another one. This last part should be common sense, but ensure that you are not approaching any Seadra or Horsey while you are swimming. They are also incredibly territorial and protective of their young, especially during their spawning season. Entering a haunted house. Haunted houses are no joke, unless you consider yourself to be the joke since you decided to enter a haunted house when ghost Pokemon are known to exist. Here's the greatest kicker, though, for this bit of info. Crosses, holy water, prayers, none of that's gonna work, because, you see, many ghost types are not unholy abominations. They are creatures created through toxic gas, strong emotions, both positive and negative, or even just creatures coming back to life in their own way. Ghost Pokemon can, in fact, die. Some of them do need to eat. Ghastly and Haunter can be blown away by the wind, Banette can be turned back into a doll, so on and so forth. Heck, even Acerola in the anime has a dead Mimikyu, a Pokemon that did die and can't even use Pokemon moves anymore. It can really only fly around for the most part these days. Nevertheless, for whatever reason may be, you have entered a haunted house and now you need to survive this experience. Most haunted houses are only inhabited by a few different types of Pokemon. The reason for this is because the most aggressive of ghost-type Pokemon are isolated or feared by other ghosts. After all, as I stated, they can die and they also want to avoid that. And despite many of the Pokédex entries stating how evil Pokemon can be with their ghost typing, the majority of them are just big softies that want attention and fun. For example, we find Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar as Pokemon that actually just play pranks on people. They can easily steal away your soul or scare you away, but more than anything, they just want a good laugh. If you're nice and you play along, you'll survive just fine. I do not recommend seeking them out, especially as there have been some accounts of Haunter licking people and causing them to be paralyzed and shake until they die, or Gengar actually preying upon people by hunting and following them down. Just negative things overall, but they're not always like that. It's typically going to be those who are aggressive towards them. And the same could be said for our electronic inhabiting Rotom. Other Pokemon like Shuppet or Mischievous eat emotions, negative ones in specific. Shuppet will consume any negative emotions you have and leave you feeling better, while Mischievous intentionally scares you, which will result in them consuming the fear that you release. They are, effectively, harmless. The only time these Pokemon become fearsome truly is when they are trying to protect something. The old Shoutout is a fantastic example of this, as on any given visit you may encounter a ghost that pretends to be the butler of the household and will even turn into a giant haunter. None of these are the true form of the Pokemon, and it is thought that one of the many other ghosts that reside there are pretending to be these individuals. It does this to protect the other ghosts from outsiders, from anyone who might dare to hurt or disrupt their family and their peace. They are protective of each other, meaning they will scare you until you leave and tell the tale of your narrow escape to everyone else, causing everyone else to stay very, very far away. And while you're questioning why I'm willing to say all this instead of keeping it secret for their protection and safety, it's because they can do far more than just illusions. They just choose not to hurt us. There are very few ghost Pokemon that you should fear, and instead of talking about the obvious ones, it feels most appropriate to talk about the one that will sneakily take away your life and you are likely to encounter, being Litwick. Because this funny little candle has a tendency to pretend to lead you through or out of the haunted house or cemetery you've decided to enter. It will make you more and more lost as time goes on instead of actually guiding you. All the while, it is stealing away every single drop of your life energy until you, in turn, drop to the ground as another victim of their sinister plan. If you do decide to follow them, watch their flame very closely. If the flame grows in size, then it is actively feasting on your life, and you need to turn around and run. It doesn't matter what direction, just get away from the Litwick, as you're already dying. Honestly speaking, the greatest common threat you might run into isn't even going to exist in a haunted house, as it is too busy roaming the streets and pretending to be trick-or-treaters, and that would be Pumpkaboo and Gourgeist, as they will kidnap people of all ages, meaning yes, your 93-year-old grandfather might get nabbed by an overgrown gourd as it steals whatever life he has left. You might get unlucky and even run into a Honedge, but just don't grab its blade and you're probably gonna be fine. Though, gotta admit, it would be kinda cool to see a Honedge take on other forms, such as an umbrella, in order to trick you into grabbing it. Ultimately, haunted houses are more likely to give you a heart attack than they are to outright kill you, so cool your jets, keep a calm mind, and have fun with the ghosts. Bewear Hugs. In the event that you don't know what a Bewear is, allow me to explain. While Bewear may appear friendly, it is actually a very dangerous Pokemon, even considered to be the most dangerous Pokemon in Alola. It must never be approached carelessly, even if it is merely swinging its arms around in a friendly fashion, which is used as a warning. It shows affection with a fond embrace, but its hugs have incredible force. Trainers of this Pokemon must teach it how to restrain itself when showing affection. Its hugs are powerful enough to shatter bones and have killed many trainers. The reason Bewear hugs others is due to accepting that person as a friend. Bewear also uses its arms to subdue its prey before taking it back to its nest. But we're not done yet, because Bewear is capable of using amazing martial arts skills, said to have learned them by observing black belts training in the woods. Why are people teaching the bears karate? In Lentil, Bewear are known to hibernate during seasons when food is scarce. As mentioned in his sleep decks, on very rare occasions, they can be seen hugging a log while sleeping. The reason is due to it mistaking a log for a friend. However, they tend to be smashed to pieces accidentally due to Bewear's immense strength. As depicted in Sun and Moon, it's highly intelligent, capable of performing remarkable feats. Some of them being running fast on the ocean, building tools such as a wooden motorcycle, jumping very high in the air, and despite its size, Bewear can move very fast. It is very protective of its cub Stuffle, and they like to eat honey made by Combee and berries. By the way, thanks to my video on finding the exact speed of every Pokemon that does state a relative speed, I found out that Bewear needs to be moving at a speed of 166 kilometers an hour or 103 miles per hour in order to run across water due to its overall mass and its feet. Do I need to explain how fast that is, or do you realize that you cannot outrun and escape the death hug that this Pokemon brings? No, we need a different solution. In a normal situation, if someone does bear hug you from behind, your job is to drop your weight by lifting up your legs. If they manage to keep their balance, then you elbow them in the head, the stomach, and drop your heel onto their toes. This, of course, assumes your ligaments are free, but in the case of a Bewear, you are likely not going to strike the Bewear. Instead, you need to appeal to their emotions. You see, Stuffle, which is Bewear's pre-evolution, hates being touched, hates being hugged. And now Bewear has overcome this hatred and, having trusted you, now wants to give you this hug. If you can signal that you are satisfied with the hug, or honestly just speak to the Bewear that is hurting you, hopefully it's not squeezing you too tight, then you will likely be able to get it to stop. This is also another situation showing why you need to keep some berries or honey on hand to distract a Pokemon, because in this specific case, the Bewear is not a foe, it's just a little too touchy and it doesn't know its own strength. Wild Bewear just act as any other bear does. Warning signs are put up over Alola to ensure you do not enter its territory because they are known to be that dangerous, as stated earlier. This should make it fairly easy to avoid, but if you go in, you may as well cover your entire body in baby oil in hopes that you are far too slippery for it to keep a hold of. Then you run out of its territory, as it will likely not follow you outside of it. As a final note, as a last-ditch effort, Bewear do have the Fluffy ability, meaning that they are vulnerable to fire-type attacks. If you have any sort of fire, you can potentially keep it at bay, but please try to avoid doing that, as you may accidentally set fire to the land or the forest around you, and we'd rather not have that happen. Finding food in the snow and desert. I had not realized I didn't tell you about finding food in some of the scariest environments, lands of ice and sand. Let's begin with our snowy environments, as you'll have more opportunities there. While searching around, the visibly easiest form of food you can find would be any berries from a snowbird. Your job, though, is to ensure that you do not approach it aggressively or steal the berries away from Snowbird. The reason for this is because camouflaged nearby in the snow is going to be their parent, Abomasnow. These adult ambulatory pine trees are just as protective and potentially just as aggressive as a bear would be while protecting her cubs. Although this bear can summon snowstorms with the flick of a wrist. Just be kind to the snowbird, be upfront about your situation. Most Pokemon are honestly emotionally intelligent enough to understand when humans are in a time of need and might need a form of help. Though these berries might be okay for now, they may not sustain you completely. You see, you're in a land of ice, cold, freezing temperatures, and as you continue to stay in this area, your body is working overtime to keep you warm. More energy is being used, meaning that you're going to need more fats. The last thing you need is to do something that is called fast starving. This is a case in which you do eat food, but you have so little fat in your body, or no fat in the food that you've eaten, that you can starve with a full stomach. This has occurred to some poor individuals, unfortunately, as they will eat rabbits or fish as their primary diet, or even squirrels for that matter, and that does not provide enough fats to them. Continuing through the icy lands, if you're in the dead center of an incredibly cold area, then you're likely going to encounter a Swinub or any of its relatives. Watch them carefully, as they are apt to dig through the snow and ice to find their favorite food: mushrooms. These are found deep under layers of snow, and if you're able to find where they're digging, you may be able to dig nearby and be blessed with some good luck. Alternatively, you might end up eating some roots or finding roots, or maybe you will have lucked out further and you can get a Pokemon to assist with said digging. For these extreme environments, your number one goal should be leaving them. The longer you stay, the higher risk you have of being trapped, lost, unable to find food, and your supplies will only dwindle more and more until your untimely demise. As for our desert environment, there really is only one major saving grace that just might save you from an untimely demise from a stalking Cacturne or a circling Mandibuzz, and that would be a Maractus. These Pokemon are massively vital to the desert of an ecosystem, as they provide a large number of rich seeds for the Pokemon that reside within the deserts to eat. They actively scatter these seeds around, meaning that you might be able to follow a trail of their seeds to the source and receive a generous donation of the nutritious meal, assuming they are edible. I wish there was more that I could tell you would save you in your time of need outside of the normal stuff that you might be able to find in a desert or tundra, but there really isn't, and there's not really much in general, so best of luck. If you live in the Alola region, you are likely already aware of the Imposter Ditto incident. There is a police station on Route 5 that had a police officer being impersonated by a Ditto. It was a perfect copy, but was noted to only make sounds or say Ditto. This specific Ditto was known to be a part of the infamous Ditto 5, and you can discover that they impersonated not only the police officer, but an herb seller, a chef, an Iyomi masseuse, assuming I'm saying that correctly, and trial captain Olivia herself, meaning they can and will impersonate anyone if they so please. So how do you identify someone who is a Ditto, and before they work to replace you as though this was an invasion of the body snatcher situation? Well, you just need to keep your distance and speak to the person you suspect is a Ditto. If they only respond saying Ditto, well, it's a Ditto, and that should be obvious, but that also means that you shouldn't ask them anything after you say what you want. For example, and to clear that up, don't say that you hate how hot it is, or you think pomegranates are too hard to eat, as it will just say Ditto in response, as though it is agreeing with you. Instead, say something stupid like, the earth is flat, and watch as it bumbles its way into not only making a fool of itself, but also revealing that it is actually a Ditto. Alternatively, you can whip your handy book of dad jokes and lay one out on the Ditto. After that, your Ditto should be laughing, which a Ditto is known to be unable to keep its form if it is laughing, resulting in not only it revealing itself, but also a de-escalated situation. No fight, no fuss, and much safer if you don't have a combat-ready Pokemon available to assist you. The only other method that you could use to identify a Ditto as an imposter is by simply having a Ditto on your team. They are incredibly aggressive towards each other, but don't fight each other. Instead, they just transform constantly to see who is better at it, who's faster, who can mimic it at a more accurate, well, replication, I guess, for lack of a better word and floweriness of my sentences, resulting in, though, another peaceful resolution. Crabrawler on your head. Crabrawler are another species of crab that are native to the lands of Alola. They can usually be found wherever berry piles are, as they will collect massive mounds of fruits in competition against others of their species. Though, what's most interesting about these crabs is that they, similar to cats, will always seek out the highest vantage point. This is in fact not just a cat thing, as many crabs enjoy doing this as well. They do this for many survival purposes, as it provides them a vantage point to see possible food sources, potential mates, and even any predators that may be approaching their location. The problem here is that Crabrawler itself doesn't seem to care about what it is climbing. If it is tall, then it will climb. Luckily, myself and a number of you lovely shorties out there have nothing to worry about. But what do our beanstalk friends do? Because if you try to remove a Crabrawler from its new perch, in this case being your head, it will just repeatedly punch you until you have an intimate meeting with the ground. Only then will it leave you because you are, well, not a high vantage point anymore. The key here is to find something or someone that is taller than you in the nearby area. Once again, does not matter what it is. A tree, a building, total Pokemon, just make sure you choose something that you can get close to, as Crabrawler may take some time deciding which perch it likes most. And if you want to keep it on your head, I don't really know what to say. Catch it, I guess. Never give it an ice stone or go to the mountains. It will evolve, and it will not only break your neck, but it will crush every single bone in your body with the sudden increase of weight to 400 pounds or 180 kilograms that is a Crabominable's weight. Not recommended in the slightest. You will die. Distracting a Gabite. We have not spent any time talking about caves, and while Gabites can be found in the desert, let's imagine you're spelunking through some caves. You're checking out some stalagmites, some stalactites, and some oolites. Those are not structures, those are just kind of a sedimentary rock with ooids in them. Human language is strange, isn't it? Anywho, while I was distracting you with geology and etymology, we're here to discuss the moments you were so enthralled with rocks and language that you didn't realize that you were standing before the territorial Gabite. Standing at 4'7" or 1.4 meters and 123 pounds or 56 kilograms is the mid-evolution sand shark who can rip you apart with ease and won't have any regrets about it. You stand there, waiting for your imminent demise, only to realize that Gabite is staring intently at something. You move, and its eyes do not follow you necessarily, but rather the light reflecting off of your watch or bracelet or skin. I don't know, maybe you're just absolutely radiant. I'm not sure. Hopefully not, because Gabites have some level of their fairy tale dragon DNA still controlling their brains, as they love gems, treasures, and shiny objects overall. You just better hope that you aren't the shining, glistening, baby oiled up thing, just like Carbink is, or else you'll just be grabbed, put under the arm, and added to the collection that it has back at its nest. This is your chance at survival, because you have at your hands literally any shiny object. I don't care. Even if it's a glass bead, as per what its information literally states from other researchers in the Pokemon world, you have an opportunity. By giving it whatever this shiny object you have is, you will turn the aggressive beast into an incredibly docile creature. I would say huggable, but it does have the ability Rough Skin, making them a little less good feeling to pet. It's like being licked by a cat, but Gabite's entire body is the sandpaper tongue. I would also say I'm sorry for saying that, but I've already saved your life with information a number of times. Instead, I will now say, you're welcome. Memory erasing Stunky. Skunks are adorable, their only downside being the putrid smell that they release from their rear. As a small side, if you ever want one as a pet, don't. Just don't. They might play nice on rare occasion, but never remove their scent gland, as that is a cruel process that has been equated to declawing a cat. Now, you might sit down and say, I hope I never get sprayed by a skunk. That would absolutely suck. I'd be smelly, it would stick around for weeks in my clothes and my hair and my skin. It'll smell like I took a bath in sewage waste and suntanned. It's something you'd claim that you'd never forget. But guess what? With Stunky, you will forget. As per info directly related to Stunky, it prefers to aim for its target's face. The stench can be smelled from over a mile or 2 kilometers away and will linger for around 24 hours. The stench can cause memory loss. This means that not only would you be smelled from a mile away, but there's a chance that you won't even remember what happened. Can I admit now, though, that this is one of my favorite Pokemon abilities in all of lore? This is one of the top adaptions that is seen in Pokemon as a whole, which makes me kind of want to make a video about Pokemon adaptions. I mean, you get evolutionary adaptions as well, with Alolan Marowak being there and many of our other regional forms, but there's a lot more to it than just regional forms, as we can see here with Stunky. Things that have naturally, evolved through a Pokemon in the Darwinian sense. Though, a fun fact is that a real skunk can actually be smelled a mile away or further depending on the wind. The smell can linger for around 3 weeks, but it doesn't cause memory loss. So we can see where Stunky was essentially rebalanced. Less time, being from 3 weeks to 24 hours, but for this nasty ability to cause memory loss. Honestly, it's a bit of a miracle that the first person to be sprayed even pieced it together that it was a Stunky that caused their memory loss. I don't think we'd understand complete memory loss and might just accidentally chalk up a Pokemon continually hunting Stunky and failing was due to stubbornness or stupidity. But nope, memory loss of the event and being sprayed is what happened. So how do we get around this? I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not sure. You could wear a gas mask, but do you carry that on you wherever you go? I hope not. Real talk, just don't approach a Stunky. Don't scare it. Just give it space. They are sometimes found holding Pecha Berries, which is ironic considering they are poison types. They can also be found holding spoiled apricorns, and their preferred foods are springy mushrooms, party grains, and plump beans. So if you have any of those on you, then you might be able to pet them or just distract them and get away. Hopefully you don't scare or irritate them, or you won't remember where your food went, why you smell bad, and where you are. Again, just do not approach the weird looking cat. That actually reminds me, so I'm gonna share a story real quick here. My significant other, bless her heart, she told me before I even met her that she found a cat. Looks not great, right? It's furs all over the place, it looks wet, it's not looking fantastic. And she approached it. She tried getting close to it, but it would not stay near her whatsoever. She took pictures of it and told it to other people, and it turns out the cat that she was trying to quote-unquote save was in fact a bobcat. One of a creature that is so aggressive that they are technically considered above bears on the food chain, because bears look at them and walk the opposite direction. A bear can beat a bobcat, but the problem is the bear will get so damaged in the process or hurt potentially that it's just not worth it. And here my significant other is, bless her heart, trying to save a bobcat. Whimsicott Infestations. Whimsicott can manipulate its body to pass through cracks no matter how narrow. It takes advantage of this ability as a notorious prankster, moving things and leaving cotton balls behind. However, should it get wet, it will be too heavy to move and answer for its pranks. What this means is that your home is never truly safe whether you have a Whimsicott or not. They will find their way in, they will leave cotton all over your home, and they will move all of your furniture 3 inches to the right. They will clog your entire home with their remnants and then dip. So how do you handle infestations? Considering that Whimsicott is a grass and fairy type Pokemon, you could go the very simple route of having a poison type in your home or potentially having a canine because they're kind of like sheep in some capacity, or even a Pokemon that does eat grass type Pokemon. Overall though, you might not have a choice. It'll move your furniture, it'll drop those cotton puffs all over the place, and you will have to clean it up for as long as you react to the prank. It loves to see a good reaction, I'm sure. Maybe get a Pokemon that likes cleaning up to help you out like Minccino or Indeedee. Though, there is one other option that I just thought of, and that is pull a prank back on this Pokemon. Set your door up, or whatever entrance you think that they're coming into the house through, and put a water bucket up there. And when it comes through and it trips the line, that water bucket comes crashing down, wets this bad boy, and then it has to answer for its pranks. And then you just send it off on its way. Whatever, doesn't matter. Catch it, feed it food, don't be mean to it. It's just trying to have fun. It's not doing any real damage unless you're deathly allergic to cotton. So, you know, proceed with kindness. Moving a Snorlax without a Flute. This would be easy if you had a great Flute that just wakes everybody up, but you don't. So how do you move the mountain that is Snorlax? Well, the solution is actually much simpler than it seems, but will result in a very deadly situation. Present food to it. We do have an instance in which we've seen a Snorlax be woken up by Red in the Pokemon Adventures manga by presenting his Bulbasaur covered in honey to it. In the next moment, we watch as Red is speeding away on his bike as the Snorlax is running full speed towards him because, of course, he wasn't just going to let Snorlax eat his Bulbasaur. This gives us an idea of just how fast you have to move in order to get away. You're not going to be able to just run away from it. You will need some sort of vehicle. If this Snorlax does catch up to you, you are going to feel the full force of its pulverizing pancake. And the worst part is that even if it doesn't slam you, you have an entirely different issue on hand, as you either need to feed it until it is full, or it will take all the food by force. It will not hesitate to eat all the food in the area, empty rice granaries, eat through entire fields of food, and leave nothing behind. As one person without a Pokemon, how do you manage something like this? Well, your job is to set up a trail for Snorlax to follow. Lay out a path for yourself to follow before you would even wake up Snorlax, but you have to begin that trail some distance away from where Snorlax wakes up. Put a pile of food down, and then a trail leading into a forest or some other area far away from civilization. This is a very food-motivated creature, so as long as there is food to eat, Snorlax will follow it without a second thought, meaning that you can not only remove it from the path, but also lead it away from civilization. The big reason why you want it to go into the forest is because there will be more food and Pokemon in general for it to interact with, distracting it as it moves amongst the trees. The point here is not to win against Snorlax. You need to send it back to nature where damage and risk can be mitigated more than anything. You might question what happens to that forest after we send off Snorlax, and my answer is, I have no idea. No matter where we send Snorlax, we might be running into the issue of the fact that it is a big ol' reset button for any areas that it goes to. It is a bit of a menace that is going to deplete any nuts, berries, or general foods that you might forage for, and this will bring down the general herbivore population for any creatures that rely on the foods that it eats. And then, of course, that will affect any species that prey upon those herbivores. This is just nature as we know it, and now that I think about it, I don't understand how people in the world survived when Alpha Pokemon existed and Alpha Snorlax was running around. Traveling through Whismur Cave. Whismur are a very adorable little funny Pokemon. I love them with all my heart, and they are in my top 3 normal type Pokemon. The problem with them is their crying. Whismur are a very timid species, being easily frightened by loud noises. Whismur's murmurs are barely audible, but when it does sense danger, it lets out an ear-splitting cry as loud as a jet plane taking off. The cry of a Whismur is about 100 decibels and can cause an all-day headache should anyone be near it. Startled by its own cries, it will then cry louder. When it finally stops crying, it will fall asleep from exhaustion, and because it breathes through its ear canals, it can cry continually. However, it will stop crying if its ear covers are shut. If you want to try and get close enough to that while it's crying, which I'm going to tell you right now before we get into it, do not get close to it. Because while it lives in caves, they're not only at minimum as loud as a motorcycle when they do cry, thanks to their 100 decibel level, but they even startle themselves. They're the equivalent of a chihuahua getting scared by their own farts. And yes, I'm speaking from experience, as my dear little chihuahua does the same exact thing, but isn't scared of a lawnmower somehow. Recently found that one out. Go figure. Nevertheless, we have a Pokemon that lives entirely amongst its own kind within the cave known as Whismur Cave. They get startled by themselves, which can likely startle each other, which causes all the other Whismur to become startled and scream louder and louder, with potentially upwards of 100 screaming louder than a jet engine together. If you are in that cave, you will go from perfect hearing to deaf, bleeding from the ears within mere seconds as your eardrums rupture, and potentially even worse. You may have some luck through the use of noise-canceling earplugs, but even that is unlikely to help completely, as your ears are no longer the concern here. Because it is said that if a sound reaches between 185 and 200 decibels, which is again how loud something is, your internal organs are affected and you may die. This is because sound is just the vibration of molecules as energy is released into the air. This also explains why earthquakes can still affect creatures that are flying close to the ground. It's because the energy is again released as it travels through the air. The more energy, the more power dispersed, the more damage. What am I saying here? I'm saying that you should stay far away from Whismur Cave, but if you have to go through it, begin by wearing earplugs, as there are likely some Whismur already crying in there. Alternatively, if you are brave enough, scare one of them and immediately leave the cave. Do not stand near the cave either, as it will otherwise act as a natural amphitheater, and all the sound will multiply and strike you in even more damaging ways. Once you've done this and step away, just wait until all the sound dies down, as all the Whismur have exhausted themselves and they've fallen asleep, allowing you to safely travel through Whismur Cave. And that is again assuming that they see you as a threat at any point throughout your travel through that cave. Turning Skarmory wings into swords. This one may very well save your life. Skarmory's wings do shed as normal plumage might, as they need to keep their sheen, sharpness, and durability in order to keep this Pokemon safe. They are more often found near mountains or other places of high altitude, as they are more solitary creatures that prey on some species while also potentially being a carrion bird. If you're lucky, you might find feathers within thorny bushes, as they prefer to make nests within them, as it protects their young and sharpens their feathers as they mature. Skarmory's feathers are known to be sharper than any man-made sword, and even warriors in the past have made swords from these feathers. So if you can make yourself a makeshift weapon to defend yourself, or to use as a tool within your time of need, this can be vital to you. These are long feathers, meaning you're going to need a durable and decently sturdy stick to attach it to, alongside some stronger twine or thread. Maybe you rip your shirt, I don't know. It should be fairly straightforward how you attach it from there, but you may not have any luck if the thread is cut by the feather when wrapping it around said feather. If you can't create a multi-layered handle from any cloth or thread available to you, attaching it to a stick, preventing you from doing so, then there is a riskier option available to you, and that is to directly create multiple layers around the base of the feather itself, making the base of the feather the handle rather than creating a whole new handle attachment. This is not impossible, but you will definitely need good binding to ensure that when you swing the blade, you don't get cut. Remember that when you are cutting a log, that the force will travel through the blade, and you will need to hold on tight or you won't cut a single thing. Again, this is super makeshift and would only be vital in dire situations or if you need a good tool to use. You would absolutely risk injury by even just attempting to create a sword from a Skarmory wing. I am not held liable. I have talked to my lawyer, which again is just me. Domesticating Zigzagoon. Let's say you're in Galar, and the Zigzagoons are all running around doing their thing. The fun part about Galarian Zigzagoons are that they are very combative creatures. Actually, it's not a fun thing. It's kind of a scary thing. They will run full force towards you at top speeds, their face a bright smile with their tongue flapping in the air behind them. Though they won't actually attack you. Instead, they will goad you, try and make you attack them first, provoking you. And while this is a good method to create an opening in your opponents if they make the mistake and fall for the bait, this was not successful in humans or against humans. This behavior actually caused humans to believe that Zigzagoon wanted love and care and affection, and that really made Zigzagoon incredibly frustrated. Though, despite its frustration, it did not attack us, meaning that if you really want to, you could just pick up a Zigzagoon and take it home. There are no laws against it, and you don't need a Pokeball. And yeah, this isn't really domestication, but it can make you feel safer if you're in Galar and you're nervous about all the Zigzagoon rushing towards you and running around. As long as you don't attack them, they will not attack you. This is just actually what happened in history, as eventually these Zigzagoon were kept as pets until they were brought to other regions, and we see the less aggressive version of Zigzagoon found outside of Galar. They are known to be calmer and friendlier, but still run in that zigzag pattern, as that is thought to be the last remnants of their aggressive nature. They'd be fantastic at running away from crocodiles. Vibe checked by Hatterene. This one might catch you off guard. Let's just begin with Hatterene to help understand what's even exactly just happening here. Hatterene makes use of its ponytails as hands, pummeling its foes with them. One blow from these ponytails would knock out a professional boxer, and it perceives strong emotions, including positive ones, as if they're really loud noises. Thus, Hatterene will violently silence anything nearby expressing or feeling strong emotions. This already puts us in a bad situation, as any sort of strong emotion, whether you make it known out loud or not, will make this Pokemon upset and decide to beat you down. And things do not get any better with Hatterene. Hatterene has a solitary and reclusive nature, emitting psychic power strong enough to cause headaches as a method to deter others from approaching and disturbing it. It has also been observed that it dislikes loud noises, tearing apart perpetrators with the claws on its tentacle as a result. I'm going to say this right now, I'm never loud near this Pokemon. I am calm and collected, but I have very strong emotions like almost all the time, unless I am tired because of the chaos brain. Now, these are the ultimate vibe check Pokemon. They will sense your vibes, and if they are off, you will die as a result. There is, of course, a way to survive this, and all you need to do is stay calm. Keep your emotions level. No incredible fear, no incredible happiness, nothing. Take a deep breath and level out your thoughts and emotions. Find that place of zen, and then you might be able to even approach these Pokemon as a friend. They aren't necessarily dangerous creatures, they just get overwhelmed. Think of it like a form of overstimulation, similar to how people can't be around crowds or even other people for too long, or else they become exhausted. In fact, Hatterene even states that it does become exhausted if it is around people too much when they're excited, and it will become unhappy and without energy. So again, be calm, and all will be fine around these Pokemon. Becoming a part of the Bouffalant pack. Bouffalant are the Tauros of Unova. They will charge anything that comes into their territory, anything that doesn't look like them more specifically. And when it does charge, it has the strength to not only derail a train, but also send it flying. Meaning you will not survive that strike, and if you somehow do, you will not survive the landing, and if you somehow did, there are still 20 other individuals to an entire Bouffalant horde that will rush you, and you have to try and not get gored by. But there is a very quick and easy solution to this if you have the hair, or at least a wig. You need an afro. This is not a joke in the slightest. Bouffalant have been known to mistakenly recognize anyone or anything with an afro as one of their own, meaning that they will not attack you if you have an afro. They'll be peaceful, and they might not even pay attention to you, allowing you to walk past them without a single issue and survive your encounter. Drinking Reuniclus juice. I'm not crazy for this one. This is a real thing that you should not do, but is something that we can work around, though it may not be ethical necessarily to do so, and you are going to risk death. Let's begin with why you would even think to make the stupid decision of drinking Reuniclus juice. It's said that according to the Pokédex, that drinking the liquid surrounding Reuniclus grants wisdom. Problem is, the liquid is so highly toxic to anything besides Reuniclus itself that you may very well die. This might actually be providing Reuniclus with its psychic abilities, which is why you might be tempted to drink it. Great wisdom, psychic powers, all at the chance of death. Very ironic when you think about it. But I'm going to claim that there is a way around this toxicity. Because Reuniclus is a single-cell organism undergoing mitosis, a process in which a cell splits into two identical sister cells. The true center of Reuniclus is surrounded by something called cytoplasm. This is the gelatinous liquid that surrounds a given cell and protects it while also housing what is just like the organelles and everything. I couldn't find anything completely set in stone, but it is suspected that if the nucleus and cytoplasm don't mature at the same rate, then it can result in some toxicity, which would explain why we see so much more Reuniclus than it's covering over time. There's an imbalance here. This could also just be caused by overall osmotic imbalance, meaning that all we need to do is even out the solubles versus the solution. Think of like salt dissolving in water. There's too much salt in the water, and what is my hypothesis then? Drink a ridiculous amount of water, then drink the Reuniclus juice. And to prove it, I'm gonna do it myself. Now, this isn't a perfect experiment for the Reuniclus serum, juice, whatever the heck you want to call it, okay? I'm just gonna drink half a liter. It's fine. Half a liter of water, and then we'll have a little bit of that concoction in there. It's gonna be fine. Don't think about it too much. I'm gonna regret that later, I'm sure. I'm gonna regret that later. I'm already regretting it now. This was a horrible decision. Why did I think this was a good idea? For science. Oh, for science. And then Reuniclus. God! Oh, it just tastes so bad. I hate.
All right. May 14th, 2025, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Day 19 of testing. Potentially mild progress. After increasing water intake to an even 2 liters per 100 grams of Reuniclus cytoplasm, while the professor's convulsions have increased in intensity and frequency by about 1.3%, vomiting is down by approximately 4.7% in terms of volume. A promising new record. Professor reports a minuscule decrease in abdominal pain, a mild rise in motivation, but expresses no discernible change in knowledge retention. Subsequent tests confirm this. In addition, the subject claims he has gone an additional night without sleep, and the sclera of his right eye appears to be turning a very, very dark shade of green.
I'm alive. I'm alive. If you enjoyed this, please make sure that you do subscribe. Share with me. You know what? I could make another one of these. These are fun. Share with me what survival tips you want within the world of Pokemon, and maybe I'll go ahead and make another one of these videos if we get enough responses that I can collect and make answers to. That'd be a great thing. But in all seriousness, if you did enjoy, please do make sure that you do subscribe, leave that comment, and share the video with others, as it does help the channel grow in a free way, and it helps a lot. And 14,000 subscribers, we're looking to go higher, because then this channel could be self-sustaining, especially if you do have the ability to become a member. Ad revenue on YouTube is not steady and not something that I can rely upon, meaning that I do have to get another job, which means videos are going to slow down. But if we can hit 1,000 members, then I can feel comfortable and safe with making sure I'm taking all the time I need to create these deep dives or all this content that is multi-hour and have fun with it, and even have fun with some of the editing. So again, if you do become a member, then you get behind the scenes content, you get to know about the plans for the next videos through updates, even get to polls that other people do not get. And of course, the last part of it is just that you get your name shouted out at the end of every video, which we're going to do right now. A very special thank you to all of our members of the channel. You are helping keep this channel alive and fun so that way I can continue to make content for everybody. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for watching, as we are now going to name off all of our members, starting with the Gods of Hope, Biggins, Heals for Life, and Vatty Lemon, followed by all of our champions, Andrew Murphy, Costa, and Joshua Biggins Wilson, with all of our Knights of the Court, Double, Shiny Gems, Sarah Brisbois, Moth Romance, Vatty Lemon, Crumble, Fix My Nitrogen, Krill Final Fantasy 14, Plow, Annie Stone, Allen, and Heals for Life, and, Blue Dalek, there it goes, Warren Hemphill, and then all of our Wanderers, Dakota Couch, Brad Sundimer, Cameron Goosedeck, Carl Jean, Hunter Ow, Hussein Kassam, Rebecca Connell-Hune, Jappy W, Memento Mortem, Corn, Avery Koreshi, KD Divine, Shorty VX1, Fairy Fantasia, Jake Young, JC Hero, Hitmonfry, Daniels Eats, April Ralston, Planet Blob, Marchie, Edward Kasowski, Pudding Fox, Emma Ranger, Hawthorne, Andrew Dyson, Kashima Zanzibar, Chef in a Bottle, Justin Green, JV Green, Minnie the Mad Minnie, Tavis Lamb, Venica Fox, Ben Dover, Desporty, Yamper, Evil Chan, Max Supreme, Octoshade, Woomy, Charles Reed, that got me, Rose the Pink-Haired Saiyan, Tyler, Darius Regan, Silver Lazarus, the Pony Boy, DPM, Pander, Nerdus, Creebird, Hag, Addy Cadabra, Destron, Gaming, King Pie, Jack of the Frost, Precious, Ivy, Ruby, Addy C, Jacob Square, DJ Monk 23, Squid, Water, Ryan Smith, Gamer, Bad Dragonite, Just JM, Vanny Samaru, Star S, MD, Horse, Cocktail, still unknown what's going on there. Hey, Bill, Eat, Micah 626, Amy, Muse Art World, Delumio, Gwendolyn, Eastgander 072, Andrew Frost, Speaking on My Son, Sloth, Knock, Nguyen, Ian, Ryan, Big, and C9, whatever this is, Corner of the Cop, Daniel, Tracy, Garrett Hoffman, Rosef, Dylan Peters, Malachi Burkhart, Carlisle, and Heather Wiseman. Thank you all for being members of the channel. Again, if you want to help support the channel, if we hit 1,000 members, that will not only sustain the channel, ensure I can take all the time that I need to make every single video and not have to worry about seeking other terms of employment, but also that helps ensure me, if we get beyond that point, that I can even look at spreading the wealth. Look at commissioning artists, so that way I'm not doing the thumbnails, the editing, the research, and the everything else. But again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, don't do anything I want to do. Don't think I want to do. Please be nice to each other. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.